Welcome to the Awe and Wonder podcast, Series 8. We're talking about AI possibilities. And we're joined today by Tracy Dabbs, who is a coordinator of technology and innovation for the Burlington Edison School District, which is a school district in Northwest Washington. Nice to have you here, Tracy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for the invite, Sarah. This is really exciting.
I had to ask you right off the bat about your title, Coordinator of Technology and Innovation, because, we hear a lot in school districts make maybe assistive technology specialist or leadership team. How did that title come about? Because I love it.
No, it's actually pretty interesting because the things that are all lumped in with what I do, because I do AT, right? I do assessment. I am the UDL lead. I'm the MTSS lead, right? There's so many different little elements. And the title kind of kept going like this. And I thought, let's just have something that could really encompass everything. And then also have really the exploratory and learning piece that we want to capture. Because I really wanted to feel like we're not like stuck in a certain space, but we're always learning. We're always looking for ways to do better. So I just love that idea of just we're innovators.
I love that too. That is from what I know about you. So Tracy collaborates a lot with the Special Education Technology Center on trainings and professional development, and also just kind of as a thought partner. She's just an email away. So what I know about you is that you are extremely collaborative and innovative. And I feel like every time we have a conversation, you're bringing, number one, you're bringing in other people and kind of like, let's figure this out together. And then number two, you come up with something at the end of the meeting and I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Like, you're like, I'll just throw that information on my Google website. And now I have a new section about what we just talked about. And it's like, you're getting the word out and it's just amazing. So every time we hear from you, there's just more to learn.
Oh, thank you so much. I just feel so blessed to have so many connections with different people and bringing people together. It's really exciting. People in the SPED world that don't talk to general ed or don't talk to tech. And there's just all these amazing connections. So I've just been thrilled to be able to do that.
So Tracy, what is new with you as far as the world of AI? What are you working on or what's exciting you? Tell us a little bit.
So I love tech. Love tech. Ever since I can remember, way back when I was 5 or 6, I had my first little computer and I was programming, and I've always loved it. But in education, I always want to remind everyone the tech is wonderful, but it's not always the solution. So that's a big piece for me, is really trying to find that balance, where before, when I first started with tech, I felt like I was fighting for people to try tech, and right, their just devices weren't out, and now they're out all the time, right? So now it's that focus more on purpose, not getting people to try, but are we trying the right things, right? Because we kind of shifted a little bit to this babysitter kind of piece, and that was, I'm hoping we're shifting away from that, but that's that piece of just that intentionality behind what we choose and what we do. Doesn't matter if it's digital or not, right? And I know some people are really great at thinking that way, and others might need a little bit of support where, oh, I just saw this new shiny thing, it's going to be the right end all be all. And I don't want to say AI is the new shiny thing, but AI is a new shiny thing right now. And we've got to be careful and we've got to be intentional. Like any tool, I see amazing potential, but we've got to be careful, right? Just with what we're doing and what we're trying. And I know we've got a lot of people that are just excited to AI everything, right? So I just want us to, like we always focus on being super intentional and having that focus on pedagogy first.
Yes. You've done professional development for the Special Ed Tech Center on AI and AT and IEPs. Tell us a little bit. I know that a lot of it is within that lens, with that lens, right? Tell us a little bit about some of those conversations you've had, things that stand out.
Well, I remember being in one of my first meetings with some people with quite a bit of power and clout talking about AI and potential. And I'm not going to say he was in on the meeting, but a lot of people in the meeting were really excited that, oh my gosh, AI means no more teacher training, no more PD. We don't have to do that. And I just felt like, I just felt this like crushing in my chest of the only thing I could think of is AI is now demanding even more. more
Right.
PD, more understanding. If we don't have that pedagogy first, I mean, we all know a garbage prompt in is garbage out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had that, and I'm hearing that from some leaders that haven't quite grasped yet that no, that's not the barrier it solves. It doesn't mean we can just have anyone teach. It means we need to be so intentional, so careful with what we ask AI to do or what we set it up to do. So that's a piece that I'm hoping we're backing away from that now. I think when AI first came out, we had a lot of people that weren't quite understanding what barriers it could help us with, right? And so I hope and I'm seeing from some of the new books and trainings that are coming out, I think people are getting around that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to be really careful and really focused with that. It's demanding like never before, more understanding, more critical thinking. We can't be passive with
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the critical thinking piece. That's what I was thinking about. Besides teachers needing to learn how to write good prompts and thinking about, what is the point of this lesson? What is the goal? Or what am I trying to do here? Um, and how do I feed that to AI? But it's then knowing what I get from that is not the end all be all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, and passing that on to our students, right? Because I can put a prompt in, and everybody's seen that, right? Oh, give me a lesson plan tomorrow for fourth graders with fractions, right? And oh, it'll spit something out. Um, and it's, got all the nice little timing in there and do this and do that. But it can be completely counter to what we know about inclusive learning, right? It can be one size fits all lessons that just come out. I mean, it doesn't know. It's scraping the internet for things that it's seen. And if we're not asking for things like, gosh, give me some ideas about how to support diverse learners. And oh my gosh, I really know my students. And I know I have some students with language needs. And I have a student with an IEP with vision impairment. I need to tell it what types of students I have. It doesn't know, right? I have to provide all the context possible for it to be able to give me something of quality. So we just really have to think about that prompting and what we get, and being so critical of what we get, right? And it's just the thing that's really amazing and really horrible is it's so easy to get
Mhm.
things from AI, right?
Mhm.
It's so easy. But it is easy for us to get really uh, inappropriate lessons that are not going to support our students, right? Or inappropriate ideas or materials if we're not really thinking about what we're asking for in that teacher facing with the AI, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of training are you doing or thinking of doing in your own district around that?
So we are really focusing on a lot of UDL and inclusive practices right now with our teachers. And what I love to do is we're focusing on the pedagogy. And oh, hey, by the way, here's some great digital tools that can support us. So last year, we spent the whole year with our high school staff just on representation, right, for an example. And so learning about what that really means and what is it about access. And gosh, the barrier that keeps coming up, no shock, time. Oh, teachers will share, I just do not have time to come up with some choice board. I just don't have time to think about how to break down that goal into chunks that students can access. There's the piece where AI can help us, right? Of, hey, I'm gonna explain to AI in my prompt what my student objectives are, and I know one of the pieces my students have is just breaking down a task and getting started. Help me with how can I break this down into chunks to support my students? What are some attainable steps, right, to take away stress and anxiety of just getting started? And oh my gosh, great results will come back, right, for things like that. And of course, could that teacher have done it? Sure. 2 hours, 3 hours, right? They could have, absolutely. But the time, which is such a huge barrier for our educators with design, that's the thing that AI can help us with, right? And learning how to do those prompts, sitting with a thought partner, sitting with another teacher, looking at those prompts, being really reflective, knowing that a good prompt usually takes 5 or 6 um, additional prompts, right, to get what you really want. Because now I have this, and it's made me think of this next question, knowing that I have not ever, maybe someone else is really good with first prompts. I've never had exactly what I want with one prompt.
Right.
Never. Right.
Mm.
And I love a new one I've been asking AI is just, gosh, I'm really concerned with, taking care of barriers or taking care of my students that are diverse learners. Is there something else I should have asked to help make this
Mm.
lesson better? And it'll come back with all these other things. Did you consider this or this? Or the CAST website will give, so that the resources, if you tell it the resources you want it to use, it's even more powerful. So I love that idea of a thought partner to help with some of those barrier pieces that we see because we know those things that we really want to focus on, and that's exciting. I mean, having teachers see, oh my gosh, here's some choice board, and it gave me 10, but I love these three, and
Yeah.
even I've had one of my high school teachers share with the students, hey, this is what AI came up with for choice boards for us. What do you guys think? And having the students help really be reflective on what you're getting back from AI. So I love some of those pieces where teachers will, with the students, be a thought partner, right? And really look at some of the prompts that are coming back. It's super powerful that way.
Well, and I think it was Dan Hurley that was talking about, and on an AI training that was talking about, even just saying, how can I make this more culturally responsive? And it
It's
comes back with all these ideas. And now these are things that you we may think that we kind of know what that means, and then they give an example, and you're like, oh, I didn't know. Maybe I didn't know what culturally responsive means because these ideas have never entered my thoughts. And so I think I mean, with discernment, you're looking through going, oh, that is something I would never come up with, but I see how that's so much more inclusive now. So I think the other thing is just like whole areas of education that we need to continue to grow in. Um, AI can help us kind of with the vocabulary around what does that look like when we're actually applying it.
I love that comment and saying things like, what does it look like in a sixth grade room? Or what does
Hmm.
it look like when I know my students have, here's some of the backgrounds my students have,
Hmm.
right? Or some of the things my students care about. I
Mhm.
love
Hmm.
how you can get those student connections with things that you just might not know yourself. But digging in and getting to know your students as much as possible, I think that's always going to be such a powerful focus for us.
Mhm.
What are practical applications of this idea for fourth graders in this income level?
Exactly.
And it's like, let's make this relevant.
Hmm. I love UDL will share things like, gosh, make sure you do a learner survey and really find out, things that your students care about or ways that your students like to learn. And then feeding those into AI. Can you give me some themes or give me some suggestions, right? There's some really powerful things. And then sharing that with your students. Gosh, I shared all your results into AI. Look what it says that we should try. What do you guys think? What should we try? Does this sound like us? Should we maybe ask different things? I think that can be really powerful. Being super reflective, like you brought up, being super reflective about what you get back. And then to me, it's I always just have that question of what do I want to ask next? What does it make me think of trying next?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so you're also kind of bringing up the idea of teaching students to use AI, not
Yeah.
to be a partner in using it, but also teaching. How are you doing that in your district, or how are you seeing
Well,
people do that?
that's such a great question. And I know we have people in so many different camps, right? We have the teachers of, oh gosh, students should never see that. All they're going to do is cheat, or I'm having my students do it all the time, right? So it's interesting to try to just get teachers to first think, how do you feel about this? What is some prior experience that makes you feel that way? What's the importance now? It's the same, when we talk about the dilemma with phones and all of those things. AI is not going away that I've seen anytime soon. So I really feel like we need to take on that responsibility of how can we support our students with using this tool in the best way, right? So I always kind of think of there's student facing AI and there's teacher facing AI, right? And there are some really amazing student facing AI right now. And so I know Magic School is one that teachers have kind of gotten themselves around. There's the simple ones in like Goblin tools and things like that. And there's
Hmm.
also Adobe has some really exciting pieces with the visuals, right? With Adobe Firefly. I don't know if you guys have played with those, but I
Yeah.
keep telling my teachers focus first on what are your outcomes for students? What are
Hmm.
you hoping to accomplish, right? What are some of the barriers? And how can we, because we need to make sure they're getting some experience with AI, how can we have AI help us with some of those pieces? So, one that I'm really excited about is Google Read Along. Have you guys seen that one?
Yeah, I've our director, Kristen, had shared it with me, but tell us about that.
So an AI supported tutor. Basically, it focuses on reading comprehension and fluency, and it allows the teacher through Google Classroom to assign books, decodables or different levels. You can even do it in Spanish and different languages. But
Electronically.
yes, so the focus is that the student gets to read the book with an AI tutor, and the tutor listens to them as they read and corrects and redirects and gives feedback instantly. So I started as a first and second grade teacher, and I would have loved to listen to kids read to me all day long. Right?
Hmm.
How amazing would that be to be able to be replicate yourself and do that? Now, I 100% think teachers should be reading to students or reading with students all the time. But to be able to have that much more contact for students and teaching them, right? I've been in classrooms where we've introduced it. And so we do it together. We'll have the big screen up and we'll show how it works. And the students will each take a turn reading. And we'll talk about how it's different than reading with a real person, what the focus is. How it's not always right, right? It can't always understand you. We talk about how, if you have an accent or if you're not speaking up. So making sure I always push for make sure you show the students, do it with the students so they really see the purpose. It's not a replacement of reading to a person, but how can it help us? Right.
Hmm.
And so it's really powerful with if you don't know a word, you can click on it and it'll read it for you. It'll track text, which is so important. There's a whole version where if you're a language learner, it will help you with that language and give you support in your home language and then help you read English or whatever the other language is. So I see a lot of potential in just giving students more one-on-one support. But again, really making sure students understand how to interact, what to get out of with that coach, right? And having reflection on how did that help me? Because I actually use this with high school students in a Spanish 3 class, and they were reading children's stories in Spanish and working with the AI. And I thought, gosh, these are digital kids. They're all going to love this. It was almost 50-50.
Mm.
50% of them hated it, did not want to read with the AI, thought it was creepy, thought it couldn't understand them. But then there were another group of students that loved it. That
Mm.
and the teacher shared those were some of her more introverted students that it was harder maybe for her to get them to read with her. So just like with any tool, I love that you're going to find sometimes this is a great fit, and this could be the difference for that child to practice. Might not be everybody's great fit, right? Just might not be, and that's
Hmm.
totally fine. We know that, but giving us that chance to alleviate a barrier of instant feedback that is so hard to give to students, right? So I love the potential of this one for some of our students that just they need so much repetition that we just don't have the time to sit and be with them and do that. I just think this kind of tool could be one of those really great supports. So pretty
I
excited.
struggle learning to read it, and I think about back in the day, right, where the experience was just go around in the circle and everyone's going to read, and then you'd go to youth group or some group outside of school, and you're still that's what you're doing, and it was horrible, and you're counting down,
Terrified.
figuring out which paragraph you're going to be on, and God forbid, like somebody between the reader and you goes to the bathroom or gets picked up early because you practiced a different, it's not even reflective of your reading, right?
Yeah.
And the feedback in front of the in class, no one cares if that's how you actually learn how to read or that's how you understand. Like there was not a lot of consideration about how humiliating that might be or if that's even their learning style. But I mean, how far we've come from that. But I also think about just experiences at home, right? So due to lots of different circumstances, whether or not parents are available to really give the reading feedback required. And, you send these things that say, read 10 minutes a day with a parent and they sign off. But what if there was a tool that was, able to give more constructive criticism in a way that didn't, again, with the languages and barriers that could possibly be happening, the scheduling barriers that happen with families, the the four other children that are pulling attention. I mean, reading in particular is such a game changer as far as just your potential for learning all other things, that I like leveling the playing ground, so to speak, using AI in that way. And when it's not leveling the text so that it still is, right? Which is another feature for AI.
It's so nice, and it gives, and I know they're still refining it, but it'll give the teacher a report back, sharing words that were tough, word types that were tough, right? So now
Wow.
you have this great wealth of information. I didn't get to read with them. I'm going to do it anyway. But now I
Mm-hmm.
can put you in this, I can put you in a more intentional group for some practice. I can think of some
Mm-hmm.
other books or where to place you. So just that barrier that it solves or not, helps with for the teacher, I just see some great results that can happen for some of those.
But also training around analyzing all of that data.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's its own new skill, right?
Hmm.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us some more resources because I know you're buzzing. Your brain is buzzing with the resources, but tell us some more.
So Adobe has some really great tools, right? There's a lot of things basically in a lot of their tools, they basically just added this AI layer, right? Now, in some cases, I'm not a super fan on some of them, right? Canva, I think sometimes they go over the top. But the thing I do love is that students that I'll work with some of those that don't feel like they're great at design or their stuff never comes out looking very nice, right? Keeps them from even getting to focus on the content.
Hmm.
They can really get to the content. They can feel like they have some really special products that they've been able to
Hmm.
make.
Like
Um,
if that makes me think of students who like I've worked with it, they're so focused on the perfection of it, right? And they get caught up on that.
and
Okay, I want to
it just
hear.
immobilizes them, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if one of
Paralyzing.
your exactly. So if one of your choice board activities is making a poster, gosh, I can't draw. I'm the worst drawer. I'm never gonna. Um, but being able to do design features in something like Canva, right, where it gives you all these templates, and now you can focus on the intentionality of what template, who's my audience, can I really focus on um, making good choices on color, and now focusing on my content because I don't have to worry about that. I can't draw that thing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, and it gives them other design choices. Another one that has been pretty fun that I've used with quite a few classes is the Firefly, where with text, it'll generate images for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing I love to do with that is talking about descriptive text and and really explaining how we can have such different ideas in our head because we're not explaining ourselves right.
Right.
So, with one class, we just talked about, gosh, everybody think about a dog, right? Have a dog in your head, right? And so I said, okay, so everybody have their dog. Perfect. Let's go into AI and we just put in image of a dog and then it spits out an image of a dog. Well, was that the dog you were thinking? No, mine has spots or mine has. We have to be descriptive, right? How can we be detailed? How can we be? And so it's a great piece with helping students with writing or being detailed. So
Mm-hmm.
having them really construct these very detailed prompts of what the dog looks like and how big it is and ears and background and all of these pieces, the engagement level doing that kind of activity, other than just, describe a dog for me, right? The levels are just everyone wants to contribute. No, say that it's got a red tail, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then
I
what
love
AI
that.
will give you, right? So then they just have, or the monster activity, right, where you describe a monster and how detailed you can be, and having students really think about details and great descriptive words. And so there's some fun things. I worked with a music teacher who had students create music, and then they used AI to create their CD covers, right? Just using AI to come up with these great, because I'm having that issue with drawing and things again. So there's these pieces that can make students just really feel empowered and getting to see their images come to life. I think there's some really exciting things that we can do that aren't always just the image, but those different skills you can build behind, which is
And then
pretty
it's really like what you're describing is personalizing the learning for them that way,
exciting.
and making it just a little bit easier for that to happen.
Exactly. So they can do things, grabbing those images, and now they can put them into slideshows, right? They don't have to rely on a clip art or something like that. They can have something that's really uniquely theirs. It could be pretty exciting.
I love that. And there is teaching involved too, like we were talking about with students, but I was thinking I use Canva a lot. And when it says like the magic create or whatever it is with the AI, and it's like just use four to five words to describe what you want to do. And I know what I want to do, but oh my goodness, it's hard to actually think about how I'm describing this. So, I mean, that in itself is a whole teaching experience.
It
Well,
is.
they
It really
experience that vocabulary matters. And the more specific your vocabulary gets, the more accurate the picture is to what you have in mind. And those are natural consequences to language development and the use of descriptive language.
Yes, I love how much I feel like all of our students need so much support with communication, right?
Hmm.
And this is just such a great way of put some of those things through AI first, right? See what you get, and then you can really understand how, oh, I see why that person didn't understand, or I can see why that interaction might not have gone well because I didn't explain myself fully, right?
Hmm.
Words are so important.
Mhm. Tracy, I wanted to kind of circle back to something you talked about in the beginning, which was when you were talking about teacher training. It sounded like you kind of advertised it in a way of here are the ideas or the things to work on, and oh yeah, there's some tools that you can use. Like I'm not just going to say this whole thing's about AI and scare people off who might be not bought in yet. Is that a good, is that representative? Is that true? I
Very
can't remember
much.
the way you said it.
I really want it to feel like it's instruction first,
Hmm.
right? And with that description of what we're doing to support students with our instruction, it could be low tech, it could be high tech, it could be no tech at all,
Yeah.
right? And just having them really think about what they're trying to do and then give them these different options, right?
Yeah.
Show them some different examples. And I also really love in the training that I'll do, I'm using the tech as a in the training so that they can see how it works,
Right, right.
so that it just feels really purposeful so they get to experience it as a learner as well.
And that buy-in just
So,
happens immediately. So I do have a question though. I feel like when Brenda and I and several of us are working with schools all over the state, and listeners might be listening in for different states or countries where perhaps AI is not something that they're using in their district, or they're really excited about this idea, or will talk about, hey, you could do this text leveling or this way, but nope, we we can't, we don't do AI. What, how do you approach that? I mean, I know you have your district's perspective, but I know you've also worked with other districts. What would you say?
So a big piece, I mean, it is so essential to get leadership on board, right? And I know some districts are really hesitant, which I completely understand, especially for the student facing, right? You want to be really careful with data sharing and you want to be intentional and we want to be really careful with those pieces that are coming out. But really working with leadership, and that's a piece where, at least and I know it's really powerful in our district and others, tech really has to be at the table on all of those conversations, right? But having teachers um, try some of that, the teacher facing pieces for themselves, find collaboration partners, find different sessions or books or different things to kind of spool themselves up. Because there's a lot of things, I almost feel like it really is more the opposite, where we're starting to see these federal guidelines of this is what AI will be, right? So I'm
Hmm.
I feel like we're pushing people more the other way, where people that aren't really comfortable are feeling like they have to use this. They feel so far behind. Uh,
Mm.
so finding ways to really be together with your leadership, with your principals on if you want to try some things, what are some little things that I can try that students might not even know that I'm doing these pieces, but it's helping me with education barriers, right?
Mm.
And finding other thought partners, other people that are trying things is so powerful. I always feel so badly when we'll get someone that'll join in one of our book studies or one of our groups and they feel like they're all alone,
Yeah.
right? Like there are always people that we can reach out to. And it's those teachers being advocates for trying things and then showing leadership that's hesitant, having them hear about other districts, right? We have to um, share and understand their fear, right, and their hesitancy, but also just really understanding we really do have an obligation to support our students with these tech tools, right? Because like I said, they're not going away. So what can we do? But you're
Mm.
right, there are some interesting perspectives and things out there still.
Yeah. That's a really good way to phrase it. And when you said we need to have tech at the table, are you saying like the technology team or bringing the tech actually there to explore?
Oh, good question. So when I first started in tech, uh, our tech department was totally separate from teaching and learning. Like they were never talking with each other. The tech team always seemed like a barrier because they were brought in so late that usually they weren't there to help. Like, oh my gosh, they're going down this thing where they're not thinking about data sharing, right? So yes, and yes, making sure that you have your tech team is integrated with your teaching and learning, having people really understand the things that we can do and can't do, right, and how to alleviate those pieces. And then, like you said, have people see it. Don't just have it be this. I mean, if you actually have someone that hasn't experienced AI, sit and see those different levels of what that actually means. Because I know there's always articles you can find with those, scary chatbots that people are talking about right now. But there's those other really intentional educational tools that are out there for us to use. And then knowing that if our students have access to some of those pieces that aren't really great, we need to help them with what to do with those, right? um, how can they be really careful users
Yeah.
with it?
Reminds me, I used to say when I was an assistive technology person for Ferndale School District, I remember saying that there's the special ed department, there's curriculum, and there's tech, and it's the Bermuda Triangle. And it's where
Yes,
all like really good ideas die in the
Yeah.
swirl of it all.
you are so right.
And it still applies, right?
Yeah,
Some of these guiding principles that still apply, and that is that if the three are not in cohesive, if they're not brought to the same table, you're not getting anywhere. And I mean, this was back when I was like trying to get board maker,
oh
right?
gosh.
And it was like, how does that relate to curriculum? And then special ed says yes, but tech didn't know that it was a subscription or whatever it was.
Right.
Like the combination of, I mean, we're talking about something really, really basic, right?
Mhm.
That we didn't really have to fight for, right? But yet still it hadn't been done when I started. So yes, that curriculum slash special ed slash tech combo, that triad, if you will, has to be weighing in, and they all have to think it was partly their idea,
Yeah.
or they're not going to be bought into it either.
And Gen Ed.
Oh yes, yes. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, you're so right. You're so right.
But I do feel like that another thing that helps with buy-in is kind of asking the teacher, well, what are the learning objectives here? Because I think there's a lot of thought around that every time you use AI, you're cheating. Like, oh, if you have the computer draw for you, then you're losing out on drawing. And there probably are art teachers out there saying, oh, we don't want to lose those creative opportunities that actually happen when pen hits paper. And those are all real conversations that need to be had, and valid points on all sides. But what are you thinking when it comes to like guiding people to go, like, for example, word prediction in AAC or anything else? It's like we're not doing a spelling test, so we're not measuring their spelling right now. And it is helping rate enhancement, and it's helping them get ideas down. So we're not going to ban that feature that is helping rate and getting their thoughts down. So my question is like, is there a dialogue around kind of being very aware of what's the purpose of the activity, what's the learning objective, so that any support, whether it's AI or not, any tool that's being used is facilitating the learning that I'm hoping for, and not just creating a finished product.
You are so right. So one of the biggest struggles we had with some of our teachers is really understanding their goals, right? So
Yeah.
what is the learning goal, and what would the student need to do to show you that they've reached that goal? And I just remember the struggle that when we started with inclusive practice, so many teachers thought, oh, you're just going to dumb down the goal, right? That's what they thought this was all about. And so we had quite a few trainings, and it came to the idea that, okay, we need to really figure out, is our goal a process goal, or is it a content goal? Because if it's a content goal and we're just maybe we're having understanding of habitats and diversity in a habitat, maybe, well, there's a ton of ways a student can demonstrate learning there, right? That's where that choice board comes up, and we can do a poster or a podcast, or gosh, they could make a play or all kinds of things to demonstrate that. But if it's a process goal, and I need you to let's say just write a paragraph with an introductory sentence, right? If that's what you're going to have to show, then my focus isn't on choices, my focus is on scaffolding. So then what is it that I need to focus on putting in place so that you can still reach that goal? Mm-hmm. And some students, it's still choice. I tell them it's still choice because some students might need to choose a word bank or sentence stems, right? Some students may need to choose a graphic organizer, right? Some students, because it's not writing, but it's a written product, maybe they do need speech to text, right, to help with some of those pieces. But the focus on the choice and what I'm able to give you are different depending on what that type of goal is, right? But the idea is they're still all getting to that goal. They're still all getting a chance to get to that grade level standard goal. But what I offer, what I facilitate, might need to change based on what type of goal it is. And then also knowing my students. Do I have students with language needs? Well, that's going to change the supports. Do I have students that do have some learning disabilities, perhaps, right? And that's where we talked about before. That's where knowing my students is so important, right? And then knowing that, oh my gosh, a graphic organizer could be perfect for this student. And then, oh my gosh, this student, it just doesn't work. So having the students, I love the idea of every assistive tool, any choice that's there, every student gets to practice using it. Doesn't matter if you have an IEP, you don't, you have a 504, everyone gets a chance to see how that could help them. And then they get a chance to choose it and reflect and see how that worked and supported them. Because I love the idea, especially for some of our older students, that, hey, I'm not the only one with headphones with a mic, right? Anyone could go choose headphones and a mic at any time. I'm not the only one that has this pencil grip. Anyone could use it because maybe today my hand is tired, or I might need to use one all the time. But I love the idea of normalizing supports, having this idea that we all have a chance to use them and talk about the use and how it helped me today, but not help me tomorrow, might help me in reading, but not in math, right? And having students, I love that focus on student being an advocate for your learning for everyone. And building that empathy where we have a student that is visually impaired, and what are the tools they use? Oh my gosh, that's so exciting, right? To learn about those pieces. So normalizing is a big piece. And I just see that AI can help us even more discover some options for that, or support our students with that access. I think that's really exciting with what it could do for inclusivity.
That's a
In some ways, AI is no different than just when the internet came out, because it's like teaching discernment about what is true, what is that relevant to the assignment, like all of that is really the life skill for technology as they move forward, as they go to college, as they choose careers. The life skill is having intelligence kick something out and going and having a checks and balances. I mean, that's the critical thinking piece that maybe we didn't even get, because the internet was just kind of there. And I mean, we wouldn't dare to question the encyclopedia.
Right.
So we were looking the card catalog, whatever version, however old the listener might be, we wouldn't dare question what was in a textbook. And
No.
we've got an idea of going, wait a minute, not everything in print is true, or not everything in print is the whole truth, or not everything in print is your point of view. And maybe everything in print is someone's point of view. And so just the critical thinking alone is a new level of teaching that we have been in dire need of, and then it can spill into social media, which helps with the social emotional development of all of our kids, is having that discernment between what is true and what is not. So I think that just regular critical thinking skills on discernment about is the information that we are given helps children not only with knowledge, but in social emotional areas. What do you think about social emotional supports with AI?
Oh gosh, that's such a big one. it's amazing how many more needs have come to light with social emotional needs for our students, right?
Yeah.
I love that we're talking about it more. I feel like it has been there for our students, right? But maybe
Yeah.
we didn't really bring it to light like we are now. And I really appreciate that piece that we definitely have more educators that realize, gosh, this isn't just about teaching math. This is
Yeah.
about teaching a whole person, right? And we have more and more, even our specialist teachers, I think, are getting more around that as well. That, gosh, we really need students to understand themselves and be
Yeah.
able to self-regulate and to be a person with other people, right, that can get along. Um, and I feel like AI can be a great support. Again, not replacing a counselor, not replacing another person or a friend. That's the piece that kind of has me a little worried.
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
do love some of the pieces that it can support with anxiety, right? Because I feel like you were talking about the round robin reading, right? Some of those things that we do to students that just magnify anxiety or
Hmm.
magnify that
Yeah.
school is not a place for me, right? I feel like AI can be those pieces to support that empathy and support those choices for students where they feel like they have a place. Um, but I do love that when we really think about the pedagogy, right? It is UDL. It's thinking about those the castle. Those pieces just so have to be in place for you as a teacher as you're thinking about what supports my students need. Because AI can give us so many great supports for, gosh, I know I have students with some trauma. Can you give me some trauma informed practices
Hmm.
for these communication circles or whatever the lesson is, right? Um,
What
and just go ahead.
what is the castle, you said?
Oh, so it's that study with all the social emotional. So if you look up like the Castle website, it's just another piece that focuses on with UDL. So I always think of like
Okay.
these pedagogy pieces with, gosh, it's understanding by design, right? With the end in mind. It's UDL for the inclusion, and then it's Castle that just focuses on social and emotional. So it's like this three pronged piece for our teachers to just always remember that pedagogy of no matter what tech tool we're looking at, AI or not, no matter what instructional practice, are we really thinking about that strong pedagogy we know that is still so effective? Because
Hmm.
if you're not, that whole engagement piece for me is social emotional, right? In UDL. And if I'm not laying that foundation in my class where there's that belonging and students feel like they're part of that learning design, I'm not going to get very far. I mean, I'll
Right.
have some compliance students, sure, and that will feel like, learning and I'm doing a good job.
Hmm.
But I'll either have students that will just get lost in the mix or I'll have students that will actively act out because they don't feel like they belong. And the thing that's tricky for a lot of our teachers is we have a lot more students in that acting out piece, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so all it does for me is it highlights that we have to be so much more intentional about that social welcoming student buy-in piece.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
I know there's so many AI pieces that can help us with those choices and helping students feel that they belong. Also help us look at our assessment data and good choices to make next. I mean, there's just those pieces that will take away all that burden of time that I'm using in other places to give me more time with my students,
Mm.
right? That make that so valuable.
Can you share an example of one?
So that idea of if I'm sitting and doing all those choice boards or I'm doing all that lecturing because I feel like that's the instruction that I have to do,
Hmm.
I'm not getting to one-on-one groups, right? I'm not getting to build those relationships with students. I'm still focusing on that me being the person that has all the knowledge and I'm just spewing it out to you. But when I develop that lesson and I have AI support to give me some great stations that I feel like great stations where they're not just taking up time, right? If I'm
Right.
using Google Read Along where they're actually engaged and it's keeping them in there, that frees me up for more time in a station where I can sit with students and be really intentional with small groups, right?
Right.
So some of those pieces I feel just alleviate some of that time burden that we feel like we have
Hmm.
that doesn't allow us to get to that relationship building or doesn't help us focus on how we can create lessons that do free us up to
Right. And they're more intentional than passing out a worksheet and waiting until you can get to them, right?
exactly
I
exactly
I love all that you've shared with the idea of UDL and just remembering the critical thinking piece and that we're teaching your teachers we have tools to support, kind of like that framework. It's about the student, and the tool is that last piece. And I also, one thing that stood out today that you said is the idea of not just UDL, that, these tools are available to everyone, but that everyone is practicing the tools. I think that's a really big difference and something that teachers can think about that will make a difference in classes. So thank you for sharing that. I know we'd love to hear what is coming up for you. What book studies or resource classes are you working on?
Oh, so I have a really fun one. There's a new book out by Katie Novak. It's the Elevating Educational Design with AI. And so we're doing a book study with that one. It's starting in October 2nd. And it's going to be Thursdays. So that will be a really fun one. I have loved going through that book. It gives an amazing framework to really think about the prompts that you are using with students. And I love that it just really focuses on the pedagogy, right? Thinking about what are those barriers, how can AI really help us, and it focuses a lot on the teacher facing side. But in the book study, we're going to share some student facing tools that you can actually use in that. So we're going to add a lot
Great.
of little extra parts in that. So that will be a fun one.
And that'll be through the Special Ed Tech Center. So
Yes.
it's available to all. Okay, great. We'll
Yeah.
post that.
We're also doing one that's going to start in January. It's the Shift to Student-Led book study, and that's a really great one on thinking of just different strategies you can do in your classroom that focus on student-centered activities. And we weave in a lot of AI pieces in that. It just has some really powerful strategies of making sure students really are part of the lesson design and what happens in the classroom. And I have some teachers that I've worked on with some of these strategies, kindergarten through high school. And it's been a game changer for some people. So that's really exciting. I really enjoy that one
That's
too.
nice. So you'll share some of those stories in the book
Yes.
study too? Oh, that's always nice. Yeah.
And the big piece for me is when we're thinking about teacher facing AI, right? I'm really finding that most of those pieces are the really powerful AI supports are supporting teachers with saving time, right? With whether it's lesson development, whether it's critically looking at data, right? Because it can help you with surveys, it can help you with numerical data that you're looking at. So just that time saving piece is saving our teachers, right? The burnout and those pieces of feeling like you can bring your best self. That time piece is so exciting. And
The
then
things that we might be doing at home in the
yeah,
past, right?
or
Or
staying for
Mhm.
hours after, and then you're coming to school burnt out. You feel like, and then you're always beating yourself up, right? Because you
Mhm.
just feel like you're never getting to all those pieces. So I think that some of the burnout could really be something that could be supported. And then just those ideas. I know Brenda brought it up where it feels like AI is like when the internet first came out, and I feel exactly the same. It's like AI is like super search, right? Because when the internet first came out, it was pretty easy to find some of the things you wanted. Now it's like you spend hours just searching, so you're not saving yourself any time. So
Mhm.
now with AI, it is super search. I'm able to really find what I want again, right? So that's the piece that I think is really powerful. So having people not feel like it's this doomsday coming to get us, it's the big cheating tool. No, it's like a super search for you. It's going to again save you time like the internet used to do initially, right? And then just thinking of those student barriers where instant feedback, helping them build background and prior knowledge, right? Helping them practice skills because the AI never gets tired. It will let you ask questions over and over again,
True.
right? It will let you mess up on a problem over and over, and no judgment, let you try again, right? So some of those pieces, I hope that we can really see what are some of the real high leverage moves with AI and focus on some of those pieces. And it's not, I feel like every day there's a new AI tool that's just being thrown out there that we need to step away from that. It's not the new fancy shiny thing. It's that there's great just AI prompting. Doesn't matter which tool you use anymore. You have to just be a good prompter,
Mhm.
right? And then there's some solid student facing like Magic School and some of those other ones, just making sure they have good guardrails on them, right? It's not that I just get really wary when teachers feel like they have to shift to this thing, and now there's this new thing, and now there's this other one. That makes so much fatigue. I want to make sure we don't just start hopping to the next new tool because it's the new shiny one. Less is always more.
Yes, and the benefit of some of those student-facing tools is that it, like you said, there's guardrails, there's scaffolding built in, so they could use ChatGPT or something, but this is helping them scaffold what is my goal, how much or how little do I want?
Exactly. And I love that teachers can create little spaces for students to try just a very structured tool, right? It's just going to help you write a sentence, some descriptive words or whatever it is, so that we can create really productive, efficient tools for students. So finding, and it doesn't have to be Magic School, of course. That's just one that kind of has jumped out there for everybody. But knowing what you want it to be able to do or what you need it to be able to do, not just hopping to the next big thing. That's the piece that's going to be really tricky for educators and, your tech people or people trying to support you. But amazing potential. We just, as always, need to be super reflective and remember that we're focusing on knowing our students and addressing barriers and support for them.
Well, I think that's evident in all the trainings that you do. Certainly those that I've heard, you're thinking about the students. You're thinking about what is the goal here, and then how can we support? So we appreciate that.
Good. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for being here, talking all kinds of common sense, looking out for, but also just looking out for teachers. We're at a critical space in teaching right now in lots of ways, but also because burnout is high and the job is challenging and it's always been time consuming. And I think you hit on a lot of those as far as AI could relieve some of those things and also elevate the education that's happening in classrooms right now.
Yeah, exactly. It can feel really burdensome to hear about the new tool.
Yeah.
And then you blame yourself. You're not using it, right? So yeah, trying to alleviate some of that. Yes.
But the beautiful thing about AI is it's not a new curriculum in the sense that it's not the new shiny new curriculum. It's not a different tier system. It's not a different, you know what I'm saying? It's not just another way to talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
It actually is just a tool to apply to whatever you're already doing.
Exactly.
And I think that that's important because then you're not having to shift everything to a whole new idea. You're just enhancing your teaching experiences as opposed to, a new curriculum.
Exactly. My hope is as people are really learning about inclusive learning or different, just wonderful strategies for students, this will just help them bring it to life.
Yes.
Right. Where the burden's not all on me. I have a thought partner, right, that can help cull those websites and cull those resources for me and come back with some ideas with the context that I have that will make sense for me. I think that is just hugely powerful.
I think it was in Brave New Worlds from Khan that he was talking about. He had AI tell the Harriet Tubman story from her point of view, at this age group with these facts, because those are the facts that they're going to be tested on. Right. But it's embedded in that so that because it's written for that age group and from her point of view, there is a potential for my reader to pull from prior knowledge for this to be even relevant to them at this age. Right. And I thought, that's such a good idea. And by the way, maybe there's a few creative teachers that could have pulled something like that off. But guess what? It would have taken him 3 hours on Sunday, so it's like, just even thinking about building on prior knowledge, it's like, can we do that? Can we talk about this from a different point of view than the teacher's point of view? And does that pull in more and more learning experiences? But yeah, I think the potential is there and I think the guardrails are on, but it's here to stay. So let's embrace it.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
This podcast is produced by the Special Education Technology Center, administered by Central Washington University, and funded in part by OSPI. However, the content does not necessarily represent the policy of CWU and OSPI, and you should not assume endorsement by the state government.